Hey, so welcome back to the channel. Some of you guys like to know what we do on a daily basis. And this is going to be kind of some tips and tricks on how to bring back engines and machines that you thought were a lost cause. So stay tuned. All right, so a gal named Katie called, and she had just bought this piece of property, and this rider, this snowblower. I know she's kind of dark in here. That rototiller, and this walk behind trimmer came with the property. So she wanted us to see if we couldn't fix them. This one here, doing a compression check on it, we had 7 pounds. This one, compression check, we had 20 pounds. This one, we ended up with 70 pounds. But most of you guys should know that 90 pounds or above is what these machines take. But the key is knowing the history of the machines. We knew who the prior owner was, and his wife had passed away years ago, and I knew he had never used any of this equipment from that point on. So this equipment had been sitting for a long period of time. And so when we did the compression check, I wasn't surprised at what we would find for compression on them, because what happens when you leave a machine to sit for long periods of time? Your rings are metal. They'll start to break, oxidize, and they won't work properly inside the cylinder wall. They won't expand enough to build pressure. So you would have compression. So one of the little tricks you can do, it doesn't always work, but get yourself a can of PB Blaster if you don't have one. Take the spark plug out, spray some into each hole of the machine. Into here, into the front of the machine, and then on top. And then once you have the PB Blaster in it, just pull it over a couple of times, because if the valves are sticking internally, because none of these are overhead valve, so it's all internal, that they need to get a little bit of lubricant on them. So once you do that, then give them another spray, put the spark plug back in it, and just leave them for a couple of days and let that PB Blaster work. A lot of times on the old machines that have been sitting for at least 8 to 10 years, that will work. That will free up the rings, and within a couple of days you'll start pulling 80, 90 for compression. So if you get a machine that comes in and it's got really low compression, that doesn't mean that it's a complete loss. It just means you need to know the history. And just a simple trick, a little bit of PB Blaster and letting it sit for a couple of days, if that saves the customer the machine, then it's a win-win for everybody. So while we're on that topic, you get a lawnmower, and you wouldn't believe how common this actually is. And that is, customer calls, they were mowing the yard, they went into the house, they come back out, and they can't get it to start. And most often the case is they've got electric PTO or a manual PTO that they shut the engine off while the PTO is in gear, and they have to disengage the PTO to get it started again. But there's also a little culprit here. I can show you. Right down in there, you see this fuse? Maybe if I got a better light. Let's see if we can see something. All right, let me get this hooked. But this is what I'm talking about. This fuse here, if you're not getting any fire or anything from the unit, there's usually a 15 or a 20 amp fuse right there that needs to be replaced. And if the fuse is blown, check it, and if it's blown, just replace it. If it blows again, then you know you got a short somewhere. This one here is also part of that group that's over there. And this one, it would turn over, but we couldn't get any fire on it. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to pull the cowl and then just take some emery cloth and clean up around the contact areas of the coil and the flywheel. A lot of times it's rusts up from sitting for long periods of time, and that usually does the trick. But there's a couple tips and tricks that maybe you didn't know. If you've been at it for a while, you probably already knew that. When we do tractors, we've had tractors that the block is totally set up. And the other trick we learned was using Coke, Coca-Cola, not Pepsi, Coke, and pouring it down the spark plug holes and letting it sit for 3 or 4 days to a week. And then taking a block of wood, taking the base off and driving it, and a lot of times it'll break itself free. Because Coke will get in there and clean and eat all that rust and everything up. Free it up. So hopefully that'll help you. And it'll save your customers money just by knowing those simple tricks. So on that, catch you on the next video.